Welcome to the Noise Podcast, brought to you as part of the Noise Podcast Network in association with Liquid Death, Murder Your Thirst. I'm Will. What you're about to listen to is episode 4 of our mini series, Favourite Noizzes, where I'm joined by Megan and Ethan from the amazing Forlorn. They've been termed folk horror and midsummer metal. They've used those terms. Super interesting band. Thoroughly recommend you check them out. Just capped off their year by signing to Church Road Records, and we chat a bit about that as well as their favourite records from the year. I'm also joined by Jamie from Grief Ritual. Again, these guys are also on Church Road. You already know I like them. They are death metal, hardcore, the good shit. They've got their debut album, Collapse, out at the tail end of January on Church Road Records. Again, we're going to chat about that. We're going to chat about Jamie's favourite releases from the year and a little bit about their plans for next year. So if you enjoy the episode or you just fancy dropping us a hate follow, as long as you're not horrible to us, please do make sure to follow us on Twitter at Noise Podcast and Instagram at Noise Podcast Network. You can find our main site on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and totally not Twitter, Blue Sky, at Noise UK. Do like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a listen wherever you get your podcasts, wherever that may be, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything. And if you do fancy checking out our Spotify Essentials playlist, or you're going to be a total legend and buy some merch, got some links in the bio for you. If you're feeling even kinder than that, what could be kinder than that, you say? Could you drop us a review on your platform of choice? It helps more than you think, and we really hope you enjoy this episode. See you next time. And so I'm joined by Megan and Ethan from Forlorn. Midsummer metal, I guess, is sort of how you've styled yourselves originally, but also folk horror. Really cool, really interesting band, new band. So yeah, first of all, how are you doing? It's great to have you on and to actually sort of properly meet you for the sort of first time.
We are good, thank you. Thank you for having us. It's nice to chat to you and be a part of this podcast. But yeah, I'm well. Looking forward to winding down from work late next week and chilling out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
You and me both.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, you and me both. I think I finish up on just under a week, and then that's it till January. It's going to be wonderful. So
No.
yeah, the idea, as I mentioned to you behind this, was talk a little bit first of all about how the year's been for Forlorn, because you've had quite a good year. You've dropped a few singles, and I believe it was this year, wasn't it? You did the sort of the compilation-ish EP of some previous singles as well.
Yeah, we released, well, I know we released one single in March, and then obviously our most recent single came out October. I'm pretty sure, yeah, our compilation was, sorry, my mind is completely going. I believe it was January or February that was released.
So that long ago? Oh my God.
Yeah.
It felt way more recent.
Yeah, no, because the compilation was essentially the sort of the ending of the previous cycle. So
Hmm.
it's with the release of Creatress in March, that was the the sort of the start of the new cycle.
Okay. I'm glad you've pronounced it because I've been worrying that Creatress was wrong.
A
And
few
I'm
people have said that.
so Creatress.
Creatress.
Is that sort of because creation? Is that sort of where it's coming from, or
It's really down to Meg. She was the one that sort of came up with the concept.
Do you know what? I've just realised I don't think that cassette was this year.
Was it not?
oh my God.
I've just had to I've just had to do a little Google because honestly, like as once you hit like 30, you seem to like, I don't know, I seem to forget like absolutely everything more than usual.
It must
So
have been like end of last year then, right?
I just had to look it up. It says like July 2023.
It was not July, was it?
Oh my God.
I'm losing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you and me both, because there's me going, I swear, because I knew the singles happened, but I could have sworn there was a compilation that came out this year. But
Oh gosh.
if it's really that long ago, I am terribly sorry.
No, we should know this stuff, but honestly,
Yeah,
like I'm terrible with dates.
we'll cut that bit out. It's call it ignorance. It's fine.
Yeah, 2023. July 20th of July 2023.
Wow. It doesn't feel like it's been over a year because I remember really enjoying that when obviously, it kind of came out as a collection. And obviously the two singles this year I've also really enjoyed. But outside of that, obviously there's been how many gigs have you played this year? Because I'm trying to rack my brains. And again, it's something that even though I've seen you a couple of times, it always manages to slip my memory as to like when it was.
There's been I think gigs have been I think we've been quite kind of selective of what we've done this year. So there's not been, heaps and heaps of shows. It's kind of been like 1, 2 a month, which I think is, we're working with a booking agent, and we've had some great stuff come through. But again, we've just kind of been more selective, I suppose, about what we want to jump on. But I
This
think
year's been very admin heavy, so I think gigs have sort of become not become, obviously we all want to play as many gigs as possible, but it's been very much sort of quality over quantity this year.
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes if you've got a lot of stuff going on, whether it's writing, live stuff, it's nice to do the odd gig. So you're still getting to play, but sometimes you do have to pump the brakes a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot to do this year. But I'm hoping that next year's gonna, I'd love to see us jump on get a couple decent opening slots on some tours. I think that's personally what I would love for us next year.
Yeah. Because I think the first time I saw you was, I want to say, and again I was talking to Sammy about this the other night, I believe it was with Devil Sold His Soul.
Wow, right at the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the Academy Islington. And I couldn't I
Shoot.
could I couldn't remember, honestly, this is really bad. I couldn't remember who the headliner was, but I knew you and Ern were on the bill. And then I was kicking myself because I was like, because I fucking love Devil Sold His Soul.
You're not a real fan.
Terrible. Absolute waste of a fan.
Sorry,
But
we'll
no,
straight
yeah,
them
it
up
was
that
it was back then, and I remember really enjoying it. So it's really cool to see that things have continued to grow. And we'll talk a little bit, as I say, later on about what next year holds. But what I wanted to do now, as well as like move on to now, is to talk about, because it is that time of the year, whenever this comes out, where we talk about favorite records from the year. Now, you did send me, both very kind, to send over like a top five. So I don't know if you wanted to run through a selection of those, or if you wanted to sort of cherry pick one or two from each of your lists. I'm more than happy with either. But if you wanted to have a
You
chat about
you
some of
go
your
ahead,
favorite
Eivør.
records,
I'll let you take the lead.
Sorry, am I going first?
You go
you
for it.
are.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the five I picked was just to sort of get a kind of broad spectrum, because it's I don't normally like just having the one sort of album that I found to be the best this year to be a heavy album. Not that I obviously dislike heavy music, or with being in a heavy band, etc. But I always find that I find myself falling into the trap of sort of consistently listening to heavy music. So I've really tried to go out of my way to find sort of more alternative and different sounding albums this year. With that said, by far my favorite album of the year is I've completely forgotten the name of it. Is it From the New World by Alt?
Yes, yeah, it is. I've
Yeah,
got I've got the
From the
list in
New
front of me.
World.
Yeah, that alt record. When did that come out? It was earlier this year, I think, and I remember liking that one as well.
When does that say? Sorry, I've got Google open to keep my notes up because I'm an idiot.
So was the alt from the New World was sort of your top pick. What was it that I guess that you gravitated towards most about it that kept you coming back to it?
Well, one of those bands where I sort of accidentally stumbled across them on Instagram in like, God, 2019, 2020, something along those lines. At this point, they only had like 2 or 3 singles out. And they've sort of been on my radar since then. Like I've sort of kept up with them, but not like sort of actively, I guess. But then they started releasing a bunch of singles last year that like completely blew me away. Like their song The Orphan Breed, which has just one of the sickest breakdowns I've ever heard in my damn life. And then yeah, from then I just sort of fell back in love with them, and this whole album is just wall to wall bangers. Like there's not a bad song on that album. There's zero skips. It's phenomenal.
Nice. Did you want to run through any of your other picks as well? Because like there's a couple on here that saying before, there's a couple on here that are new to me. Like the alt record I haven't listened to as much. The Amigo the Devil record has been on my to check out list for ages. And that's the Yours Until the War Is Over, I believe.
Yeah, I'm in love with that man. He's so talented. Like just as a songwriter and a lyricist, it's incredible. But that album is it's so much fun to listen to. It's got some super dark themes on it, but
Yeah.
it's so much fun to listen to. It really is. Plus, again, if you're just a fan of sort of like sitting and listening to country music, which I say country, it's not like, you know, wife ran off with the pickup truck and the dog sort of country, but it's yeah, a lot of fun to listen to. It really is.
Doesn't I think I'm sure I've heard him referred to as like murder folk before. And
Yeah,
that
so I
feels
think
very fitting because like I remember listening to I think either the last record or the one before it and going, there's something like really deeply quite fucked up about some of the things he sings about, but it's
yeah, I
done in
think
such an engaging way.
his whole first album, I think, where each individual song was written about a different serial killer or a specific sort of murder case that had news coverage and that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I think that's how he sort of donned his title, and yeah, it's sort of developed from there, and it's just fantastic. Yeah,
Hmm.
just everything he releases is great.
Did you see him? Because I know he toured here earlier this year. Did you manage to get to any of those shows?
I did annoyingly, I had tickets to go. I don't remember why, but I couldn't make it on the day, so I had to give my tickets away to my mate,
Ah, that's a shame.
which was a
Yeah,
shame.
unfortunately, I missed it as well. But I've got a friend, I've got a friend that I used to work with who absolutely adores Amigo the Devil as
Mm.
well. So totally understand, like, if you want some really, yeah, just like fucked up country, it's he's genuinely fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it really is.
Amazing. Meg, did you want to run through any of your picks?
Yeah, I would say that my top pick of the year is Frame of Mind by Calandra. I first discovered them at Arctangent this year. They were one of the bands that my brother suggested that we go and see. He was like, "Oh, go and see Calandra. Like, you're really, really gonna like it." And yeah, I proper liked them. They're like, I don't know if you've heard of them. It's like Norwegian folk pop kind of rock vibes.
I haven't, I don't know when the last time I listened to the album was. I think on release, and then it got overwhelmed by loads of other stuff. But I remember seeing Calandra opening for Leprous, I think.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
It was them Monuments. It was an odd tour bill, but it was really cool. I remember getting the email from my editor at Metal Hammer going, "Do you want to do this?" I said yes, and he went, "Good, get there for Calandra." And it was in kind of the don't argue with this tone.
Mhm.
The you should check this out. And yeah, Calandra, absolutely stunning. I think a friend called them sort of like prog pop because they've
Yeah,
got
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of progressive sort of sensibility to them. But yeah, absolutely stunning musically. Very
Yeah,
arctangent.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. They've definitely that album has got a lot of proggy parts in it. Um and quite like heavy parts as well. Particularly like the single I Am, it kind of starts off like, quite sweet with like isolated vocals, and then it gets really like deeply sort of proggy and a bit riffy, and kind of dark. And I think that's what I like about them. Um, and as well, like I'm really into London Grammar, and there's bits about London Grammar that I kind of hear in Calandra, but just with a much more kind of heavy vibe.
Okay, that's an interesting one. They're a band I'm not as familiar with, London Grammar.
Yeah, they did release an album this year, but I haven't, to be honest, I haven't listened to it. Although I'm not a real fan.
Well, there's just been so much I find that there's been so much good stuff this year that it has felt a little overwhelming at times, like when it came to think about my album of the year. Like I had an easy time picking my favorite record of the year, but the other like 19 when I've been submitting lists of 20 has been pretty horrific.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's some really like amazing tracks on this record. And like I was literally saying to the guys last night that there's so many like elements within their music that I would love to like dabble with a little bit in, future Forlorn material. Not, not to say that, we're obviously not a Norwegian band and we're not going to pretend to be, but the way they sort of do certain things in their tracks, um, some of the layers of like the drum layers and like strings and things like that. That's something that I'm like so passionate about and passionate about exploring really with our material.
Yeah.
So hopefully I get given the thumbs up for us to do that. I know Ethan will be on board at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be like a Norwegian band to explore some of the, like you say, some of the things that they're doing. Because if you look at it and go, we could work this into a Forlorn album or a Forlorn single or a Forlorn song in some way, like, why not try it? At the end of the day, it's something that you can just try. And if you write something and go, well, we tried it, but we don't love it. You
Yeah.
tried.
Yeah. And I think we're very lucky in that our producer, Sam, he's like very open to that sort of thing. And he's said that he'd be up for like, getting like experimenting with some different kind of instruments and stuff like that and getting like a string player in or something to help. So yeah, I feel like we've got the means to explore so much now.
I love that. Nice. That'd be really interesting if you do ever get the chance to explore that.
Yeah.
You also picked some far more sort of not straight ahead, I guess, but like because obviously Calandra's quite an arctangent pick and a really interesting one. But you also picked, and this was one that interested me, because it kind of stood out to me on the rest of the list as well, is the Pearl Jam album, Dark
Mhm.
Matter.
Yeah.
Tell me about why you picked Pearl Jam.
Oh, Pearl Jam, every member of my close family is like a huge Pearl Jam fan. I just think they are amazing. Dark Matter, well, the actual song Dark Matter is probably my like favorite song of this year. Like it's just so cool. And obviously, they've been around for a long time, and they have kind of like, you know, their sound has modernized, but it's still like just so recognizable as being them. Some like older bands. I don't know. I don't want to like shit on Metallica because like my husband loves Metallica, but
I say we're gonna fall out.
but like what was Metallica's most recent album called?
72 seasons.
Oh, that all the songs like divination, 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 like the same old rhyming parts, and I'm just like,
Oh, looks like we're never touring with Metallica.
I mean, I wouldn't say no.
No,
But then, they've obviously got so many good records, but like the sound has just got like
I do agree.
Yeah.
Whereas
I
I'm just
also do really like Metallica, but will fully acknowledge that like the latest record could have been half the length.
Well, it's also
yeah
like the last three albums have all sounded like the same album,
Yeah.
which is yeah, yeah.
yeah, I would say that. But what's the album that had like I'll have to ask Darren, but the one that had like shoot me again, I ain't dead yet. Bam,
Saint
bam.
Anger.
Is that it?
Saint Anger is the best Metallica album.
Is that
Oh,
is
now
that
we're
what
gonna fall out.
is that song from Saint Anger? Shoot me again, I ain't dead yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's on Saint Anger.
But yeah, Pearl Jam are aging well.
Got to admit, they're a band that I've basically only listened to 10 because that was the album that my friend showed me more years ago than I care to count, probably around 20. Um,
Well, that's the album, dude.
yeah, I know, but also it was kind of, I listened to that record and was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then didn't really kind of dive any deeper because it was mainly with him that I listened to that sort of music. The
Mhm.
one band that's kind of stuck with me from that time is Alter Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Alter Bridge.
I feel like they've modernized really well as well, taking a sound like, because like Pearl Jam, who have like a very clearly defined sound, it's difficult to modernize, I guess, in a way, because you're going to get people going, why are you doing this? We just want 10 again and again and again.
I mean, I'd be up for that as well.
So I think everybody would, but also change is good.
Yeah, it's kind of like Alice in Chains as well. I suppose they've kind of modernized too, but then, they're kind of a different, they're different now, aren't they? Now that like obviously Lane's not
And kind
around.
of forced to be different, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
wasn't necessarily something that they may have gone that direction eventually, but it wasn't necessarily on the cards
An
immediately
immediate
up
choice.
until they had to.
Although
Mhm.
saying that, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here is one of my favourite albums of all time. I would argue that's probably my favourite Alice in Chains album. And I know that's weird, but it's so
Nah,
good.
it is amazing.
Okay. But the latest Pearl Jam record, Dark Matter, that's another one of your favorite picks for this year. Are there any other albums that you think maybe outside of rock and metal? Because this was something that I probably should have specified when I mentioned to him. It can be outside of rock and metal. I actually always really enjoy hearing really like different picks because I listen to a fair bit of pop outside of, and I do listen to some country outside of everything else. So it can be really nice to kind of discover. So I spoke to Lake Malice a little while ago. I don't know when that'll go out, but one of their picks was like an alt pop duo that was just really interesting. So I was wondering if there's any records sort of outside of the worlds of rock and metal that you've heard this year. I guess Calandra, they sort of come into our world a lot, even if they're sort of like a folky, proggy pop band. But is there
Yeah.
anything that's sort of outside of that world that's really kind of that you've listened to this year, or is that something that you're less likely to dabble in, I guess?
I mean, I would say London Grammar if I'd listened to the album.
We'll say it anyway.
Cool, London Grammar. I don't know,
But
Ethan?
Mine, if we're not talking, yeah, rock and metal, probably N by Eivør. Eivør. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Um, but she's I think Danish. She's like a Danish pop artist, sort of reminiscent of Bjork, with some folky influences. And yeah, her album this year was just phenomenal. It's like big and ambient, but it's still got like pop hooks. And then she does some cool, almost like Viking-ish vocals. You know that like sort of chanty. Yeah, it's great.
yeah,
It's
is
fantastic.
she the Faroese singer?
I don't know.
Because I'm sure, if so, I'm sure I saw her opening for Valo at the Royal Albert Hall.
That's very cool, but
And that
I've
was a
never
real
actually.
contrast. But if I am thinking of the same artist, then I totally agree that because
Mm.
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
some of
yeah.
the oh, okay, it is her amazing because some of the things she does with her voice are just
It's
incredible,
insane how
just
good she is.
jaw-dropping
Yeah.
control. Yeah.
I
Okay.
in the most nerdy way possible, sort of discovered her from the God of War soundtrack from the most recent games.
I love
She
that.
she was the female singer, and I immediately fell in love with everything she's released. It's insane. I didn't know she was part of the group. My knowledge of Ava has been specifically her solo stuff. Um, but she's going on tour with Heilung again, and I'm desperate to catch that.
Oh, that would
I
be amazing.
did not know that she was part of a group either. But yeah, that with her and Heilung is a really great pairing. Actually,
Mm.
that'll be a real like live experience.
That'd be a whole night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Speaking of then, sort of moving on from like top records from this year, I want to talk a little bit about, and I mentioned, as I mentioned before, what 2025 has planned for Forlorn. Because I know there's one thing we can definitely say, which is that you're playing Noise Fest in April, which we're super excited about. Really grateful you agreed to play, so thank you. But is there anything else that you've got coming up in 2025 that you can talk about?
We're doing Ithaca's final headline show,
You are.
the cremation party. So that's going to be really interesting to go back to. That's at O2 Islington as well, isn't it, Ethan? Yeah.
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 So going back there, a few years on from what was our first tour, um,
Oh, no
it's
way.
that's going to be quite special, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a sad occasion, but to say I'm looking forward to it is not to say that I'm looking forward to Ithaca's final show, but it will
Mm.
be a great night.
Yeah. Looking forward to playing more than what it represents, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Adore Ithaca and that last record. So it's going to be a very emotional send off.
yeah. They're great. They're really supportive of us as well.
Yeah, they're all just such nice people as well.
Yeah, they're wicked. So that's going to be really exciting. It's just kind of at that exciting point where we're getting like put forward for stuff and bits and bobs are trickling through, and it's just I hope that a couple of tours will be on the cards
Fingers
um,
crossed.
for us. I mean, I'd love to go. I'd love to do that Harriet tour, to be honest. So, hi.
Yeah. If you're listening, guys, because you are going to be on this podcast at some point.
I know that we're from slightly different. I don't know. That Harriet are super hardcore sounding live, aren't they?
I love a mixed bill, though. There's nothing
Yeah,
like Bill Murray opened for Sleep Token. It's like there's nothing wrong with a great mixed bill.
I don't think so. It's like when Gojira toured of Alter Bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
So it could definitely happen.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really interesting contrast.
Mm.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, what else have we got coming up, Ethan?
Uh, I really don't know how much we're allowed to say. I can say the stuff in the most ambiguous way possible. In the early part of the year, we're looking to do stuff, but again, I really can't
Yeah,
risk going into too much detail because I don't know how much I'm allowed to say.
we're gonna have a very special ritual.
Amazing. Big
Um,
things coming soon.
oh God. Announcement
Yeah,
of an announcement.
watch this space.
No, I'm looking forward to what you're cooking up next year. I'm hopeful it'll be a really exciting year because again, like I didn't realize that was your first tour on that first time I saw you. So to kind of see the growth and the change and to be like, I'm really looking forward to what comes next. So that hopefully be hopefully be really good for you.
Have you seen us since that show?
I want to say yes, but I couldn't tell you when. I think you were on a pupil slicer tour at one point.
We did the Ithaca show.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm trying to rack my brains because something like nearly 200 shows in the past 3 years. It's a I know, bands play more sometimes, but it's a lot.
God, yeah. I mean, yeah, my memory's terrible, so going back through that just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. I think there's definitely two. I think there might be more, but yeah, if it's been a while, I'm very interested to see how things have progressed since then.
Yeah, I think that's something that we want to work on as well next year. Like, there's so many different things that we could do with our live show. So that's something that I think we're quite keen to experiment more with.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make it an actual sort of show as opposed to just band gets on stage, plays music, which don't get me wrong, I love in the right context. But yeah, I think we have the capabilities and sort of the dynamic to make it an actual spectacle, like a show, which would be great. So
Yeah,
that's what we're looking forward to doing.
definitely.
Amazing. Yeah, hopefully that'll transpire sooner rather than later. I'm very much excited to see what you've cooked up both ambiguously and live. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a really exciting new year for you.
Yeah, we're manifesting hard
Absolutely.
for all the good stuff. But yeah, kind of rounding up off the year, like with the Church Road signing, that's a major kind of milestone for us. So yeah, now we've got that locked in. It's all kind of on the way up, really, I think. I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people I say this to because it must be something along the lines of people going, for God, fuck's sake, he's going to talk about Harriet again. But I do genuinely think that the Justine and Sammy at Church Road just two probably one of the best labels in the UK for my money. I think it's such an eclectic, varied roster by two people that love and want to support music
Yeah.
that I think it's just like a seal of quality. So it's really, really special to get that through and be like, oh my God, we're on that label.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely feels great. And yeah, we're just super grateful to
it's,
be
and
on this journey with them.
yeah, and you're right. You can tell how passionate they are about music, just in general, because just from having brief conversations with them, you can pick up just they are people that love music. They love helping musicians. So it's a fantastic fit for us.
Yeah, when I saw the announcement, it was like big grin, kind of like this is really cool. I think something really special can come of this.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm very excited again for whatever 2025 might hold. But I think that's all we had, unless there's anything else you wanted to specifically shout out about how this year's been, any other records or plans for next year.
Again, it's difficult for next year because I really don't know how much we're allowed to say. But no, yeah, it's been an awesome year for us, and yeah, no, very very excited for what 2025 brings.
Yeah, it's been a lot of like planting a lot of seeds, hasn't it? I think
Yeah,
this year.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's very exciting. Just not knowing, like, I kind of feel excited like every day to wonder, like, what it's very, very lame, but like what email might come in, like, or what we might get put forward for, or, I really look forward to like each new day, wondering what's going to happen, for us. So, yeah.
it has reached the point where I'm checking the emails religiously just in case I've like missed a notification or something
I
cool
know.
or whatever. Yeah.
Sometimes someone's already read it and I'm like, damn, didn't see that.
that's the problem with shared mailboxes, isn't it? Like someone else reads the cool news and then has already texted, and you're like, I didn't see that.
Stole my thunder.
Well, thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to have a chat, and yeah, I'm sure I'm sure I'll be seeing you in April.
Hopefully.
Yes,
Thanks for having us, Steve.
come to Ithaca.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's February, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'll be February then because I've already got a ticket.
Amazing.
See you there.
We'll see you in February.
And thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Cheers for having us, man.
So I'm now joined by Jamie from the amazing sort of death metal hardcore kind of hybrid, I guess, Grief Ritual. First of all, Jamie, thanks for joining. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, I was like I say, it's been a long day, but yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Good.
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for joining us. I'm here today to talk a little bit, first of all, about how 2024's gone for Grief Ritual. So yeah, how has it been as your year? Because you've done some pretty cool stuff, I imagine. Like you've done some pretty cool shows, haven't you?
Yeah, we've had a good year, and we've put three singles out so far in relation to our new album Collapse, which is coming out in January, on Church Road. So the three singles we've done so far, they've been received really well, which is great. Um, Obviously we put music out for ourselves first and foremost, but getting good feedback and knowing that people are listening to the tracks is great as well, because it just kind of says that we're in the right position and doing the right stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's first and foremost, it should always be for you. But if other people like it, that's you can't go wrong, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's really great. And being on Church Road has been amazing as well. So that's the biggest thing for us this year.
Yeah, I mean they are, without sounding too much of a fanboy, probably one of the best labels running in the UK for my money. I just feel like they've both got such a good ear for the like for what's good in the UK and sometimes further afield, like right now. What do they really want to kind of push? And they always manage to find something either really interesting or really interesting with a really good message. Like it's a good label.
Yeah, I agree. Like even before we would join them, they're a label that I'd always look out for because it's kind of like a seal of quality almost. If you see
Yeah.
a band that's linked to Church Road, then you know it's gonna like be a good release, even if it's not necessarily the type of music you'd necessarily listen to. Like I'm really enjoying the Lowen album from this year. It's been great.
Yeah,
Really cool.
absolutely. Yeah, as I mentioned to you, so I've, depending on when this goes out, it'll either make sense or not. But I was just talking to Sammy, uh, and we had a bit of a chat about that Lowen album because I'm a sucker for some really epic, gorgeous doom, and
Yeah.
like that Lowen record ticks so many boxes.
Yeah, it's kind of I used to be massively into Doom, and then the more I've got kind of more into like hardcore, more extreme metal over the last few years. But that one kind of, yeah, as you say, it ticks all the boxes because it's got like it's really fresh sounding, but it's got a bit of nostalgia in there as well, even though it's a new record, which is just I think Doom needs that sometimes because sometimes it can just get a bit samey, but that's it's got some really good like key parts and key notes in it, so it's really great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They really do have like their own thing going on, especially like with Nina's vocals.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to sort of like the year you've had, you say obviously you played some really cool shows. What would you say has been like the big one, I suppose, in terms of like or like big run, I suppose, if you've managed to do a few? Because I must admit, I don't think I've managed to catch you guys this year.
Yeah, we've kind of we've been busy, but it's been sporadic because at the start of the year we were writing and recording the album that's going to come out next year, and then following that we kind of took the summer off, and then since then we've been quite busy doing little and bits and pieces. So really enjoyed playing with Human Mouth. That was kind of our first show of the year, which was really cool. I think that was like back in maybe March or something. I mean, oh no, sorry, that was in January. So like the whole year, it's just like disappeared almost.
Yeah,
We did a tour with Underdark as well, which was great. Because we never met them before, but I think we got to play 6 or 7 shows with them across 2 weeks. Because we did a kind of like split weekender, and seeing
yeah,
them night after night is just something really special because they're just such an incredible band. Like talented musicians, lovely people. Seeing their sets as well, like night after night. I don't think on they're great on record, but you don't realize how good they are until you kind of see a band live.
yeah,
And that's certainly a band where you need to see them live because like Abby's an incredible vocalist, Dan's an incredible drummer, like they're all great and they've got such a good kind of like vibe when they play. It's an experience. It's really
yeah,
great.
yeah. That Fuming Mouth was that Reality Unfolds, wasn't it? That was
That was I think it was on the same run that we played the
okay.
show with them, which was really cool. They're again, they're really nice people as well. It's really great to see them because their album from last year, that was one of my favorites from then, and I've been a big fan for a couple of years since some of the earlier stuff as well.
Yeah, that record was unbelievable. Like, as well as the not just that, but like the story behind it as well.
Yeah,
Coming out of an illness like that, and then just being like, oh, here, by the way, here's probably one of the best records of our
yeah,
career. That,
yeah. It's incredible. What it's Mark, isn't it? Mark Whelan,
yeah,
I think, is the vocalist and guitarist, and like the main songwriter. It's just what he's been through is like it's horrible, but I'm glad that he's out of the other side of it and still making music and still creating incredible music. Because they
yeah.
go for some like when you see them live, like across the breadth of their material, there's just so many riffs.
Hmm.
It's so good.
Yeah. And Underdark, I think I've again maybe not seen them this year, but I remember catching them on a tour with when they played Wolverhampton with God, it was them, Mountain Caller and Svalbard on a bill and
Yeah,
like unbelievable show. And I feel like the Underdark record again last year, wasn't it? That flew under a lot of people's radar, which
yeah.
was a shame.
Kind of
'Cause
late in the year, wasn't it? It came out, I think.
yeah, I think that didn't help, but like the debut was incredible, and then Managed Decline was all
Yeah.
of that and a bit more. So yeah, it's and I've since seen them, yeah, with Dan, because I saw them with their previous drummer as well, um, which is really funny because he used to write for us
All
actually,
right.
like years and years ago. And I distinctly remember getting a hey, could you would you do like an intro piece on our band? Just and I remember listening to it, and it was the Morning Cloak split they
Oh yeah,
did with Anta.
yeah,
And to hear a song off that, then hearing it back on the debut, and then that new record, it's been really cool watching them grow. So I'm glad you got to do some shows with them because,
yeah.
yeah, lovely people.
Yeah, really good band. And then kind of we played that, and then in the summer we got to play Burn It Down and Love Day. So they were both really cool experiences for us. We'd never played either of them before, but we'd heard good things. And yeah, like Burn It Down's really cool because it's obviously it's split venues and
Hmm.
kind of Love Day's very similar, even though they're kind of like different scales. Like it's there's just the amount of bands on those are really cool, and there's such diverse lineups and stuff. So it's really
Yeah,
cool.
Burn It Down have been smashing it lately. Like they'll put
Yeah,
on, they'll put on like Creeper as a headliner,
yeah,
but then you look further down the bill and you've got like you guys, you've got Cauldron,
yeah,
and you're looking at it going, there's such a great collection of bands here that, and especially for somewhere like Torquay.
yeah, yeah. You just wouldn't expect it to be there, but it's really good. All it is.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that's going so well for them because it's such a cool festival in a play in like a part of the country that would normally
Yeah.
have to like travel to download if they wanted to see something.
Yeah, yeah, because I can't really think of many bands from that area of the country anymore, and kind of even further afield. Like I know, kind of, we've in the past played with Monolithian when they were a band, and they were from kind of Cornwall, which I know is even further, kind of
Yeah.
southwest, as it were. So it must. I know it's difficult to get bands to that part of the country. And like in my past, I spent a lot of time in Plymouth, where I used to go to see bands like the White Rabbit and things like that, where you just don't really get bands going that far down the country, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, again, like 10 years ago when I was in Exeter briefly, you
Yeah.
know, like the scene there was just like, even in Exeter, just there wasn't much happening. And then
Mhm.
I ended up out in like small town doing, doing some like teaching practice before I decided I wasn't going to be a teacher, uh, in like a little tiny little town that, yeah, like you say, just it was nobody kind of went to that didn't already live there.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
one of those.
a band was never going to come through, even on like a C, like on like a C markets tour, like they still wouldn't make it.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's difficult because there are like people in these places that want to see music, but
Yeah.
there's just no scenes, unfortunately. Which I think it's probably the same for a lot of places in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Sadly, where even the like places with a bit more of an amount of people, because like there's a music scene where I am in Cheltenham, but bands don't really come here anymore because it's just there's nothing much going on, unfortunately, which is a shame because there's good venues and there's been good venues in the past and there's been
Yeah.
good promoters. But yeah, Bristol's kind of the one for us, if closest by, or Birmingham, because we're kind of like
Yeah.
slap bang in the middle, all of us. So it's tricky, but it's good for us because obviously we get to go places.
Definitely.
You see.
Yeah, 'cause my friend used to live in Cheltenham, and yeah, it's a nice place, but like you
Yeah,
say, there's not much of a scene there. You've pretty much got trees.
yeah, and trees is amazing, which
Oh
is
yeah, like trees is
really great.
incredible, but it's a shame there's not more of like a local scene there, and like you say, it's. But hopefully something springs up. I am seeing, there is like a resurgence in some areas. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I know Reading had a crazy like metal scene quite a
yeah,
while ago when you had fucking hell. You had, I think, like Exit 10, Malefice all coming out of there. Silosis, obviously, the big one that actually kept going.
yeah,
Um, and now I've just seen that, I think last week or the week before, they put on, like, they had like a little festival, like a one dayer. That was, it's cool to see that happen again.
yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, hopefully more regional scenes in 2025.
Yeah, it's great when there's stuff like that going on because it strengthens everything else and it
Yeah,
gives you a chance to see bands that are kind of up and coming or have got potential and bands form and things through other bands playing together. That's kind of how we got together as a band, just like local bands,
yeah,
meeting people from those bands kind of ending or like just fizzling out, and then you get together with people that you've never really hung out with before and create something great.
yeah. You're like, oh, hey, we remember playing with these guys. Hey,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be cool if? Yeah, we gave them a ring. Yeah, like I live in London. I love it here,
Mm.
but I fully aware that we need a local. Like everyone else needs a scene too.
Yeah.
We can't hog all of it. Um, but kind of coming on to that then. So obviously you've had a really good year, played some really cool shows, and we'll talk about
Mm.
obviously your record shortly. But what I was gonna like the big reason for doing this, or part of the big reason for doing this, is talking to people about their favorite records of the year because it's been such a strong year for
Yeah.
music across the board. Like and I'm not keeping this to metal, so it can be like if you've enjoyed something outside the realms of it, go for it.
Right.
So yeah, so my question would be like, what's been your favorite release that's come out this year?
Yeah. Well, for me, like I do have quite a diverse musical. taste, and like it's been really tricky to kind of figure it out because I can look at it from like one side where it would be something super heavy and like extreme, and then I've also got kind of the other side where I like a lot of electro pop and like things like that. So it's I'm kind of torn between two, which one's Ali X's album, Girl with No Face. I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard. It's like gothic electro pop. She's like sort of Charlie XCX and things like that in the last few years.
Okay. I haven't
But
heard of her, but you're
she's a lot
selling me on it.
darker. Yeah, she's her music's a lot darker and she does a lot of good stuff for LGBTQI plus communities. And I just really love the way she approaches her music, and there's kind of there always looks like there's a story behind it, and it's been well thought out. All her videos are really cool. So that was what I was thinking earlier, but kind of as the day's gone on, I think my top record is Terminal Nation, Echoes of the Devil's Den, which came out on 20 bucks spin. Um,
That is a strong choice.
yeah, it's so heavy, and the guests on it are incredible as well. It's got Todd Jones of Nails, Jesse Leeds of Killswitch Engage, Kay Kennedy of Sex Prisoner, and Dwid Hellion of Integrity on it. And
Yeah.
like sometimes I think, especially modern music, you get some guests where they're on the album because they've been maybe given some money and they've never really listened to that band, and it's kind of a marketing thing. But on this album, I would say that those people, they suit every song they're on, and they make those songs which are already amazing. They just take them up another couple of levels, which
Yeah.
is it's just such an incredible record. Like, and what it's about as well, obviously, like the world and America itself and everything that's going on in America. Everything Terminal Nation have done's been great. And it's a shame kind of what's influencing them is the world that they're living in America. But through that, they're creating some amazing cathartic
Yeah.
metal, which is just, and it's what's good about it as well is it's obviously it's quite death metal, a bit hardcorey, but there's other stuff in there as well where it goes all over the place and it's incredible.
Yeah. I remember I thoroughly enjoyed that record on release. I haven't been back to it for a little while actually. I'm definitely going to go back to it now because it is great. Like
Yeah,
it's just packed with riffs. It's
yeah,
heavy as hell. And then yeah, like you say, it's got this all too relevant theme behind it of and to see such an explicitly left-wing band just be like, no, 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 we are left-wing. We are extremely left-wing and go fuck yourself if you don't like that.
yeah. It's so
It's
ballsy.
beautiful.
It's incredible. Like, and I think 20 bucks bin, the label they're on, is really good as well. Like they put out a lot of great records. Because like I don't know a lot about the label, the background of them, but I've whenever I see that, I think, oh, I probably will like this. I need to check it out.
I'm the same, yeah. Again, it's one of those labels where I'm like, maybe I'm not as familiar, like you say, with the people or like the
Yeah,
history of it, but it's that seal of quality, isn't it? I'm like,
yeah,
oh, 20 bucks spin, you're putting out Terminal Nation.
yeah,
That's gonna fuck. I'm gonna
yeah,
enjoy that.
yeah. That's I just can't get over how heavy some of the songs are. Like the one about the police, I think it's like No Reform.
Yeah,
It's
I think you're right.
it's just bludgeoning. Like there's so much like venom in the vocals and the lyrics. It's just yeah, I love it. It's exactly like straight up my street kind of stuff that I like.
Yeah, I feel like, and I know, and I feel like you can notice this with bands is like sometimes it's really heavy and the instrumentation is heavy, the vocals are quite like guttural or quite aggressive, but it's because of the style, if you know
Yeah,
what I mean. And I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. I think that's, of course, completely fine and great. I love death metal. I love black metal
yeah,
to an extent. But then when you get a band like Terminal Nation, and dare I say it, like Grief Ritual, where there is something to be extremely angry about behind it, and all of that vitriol and that venom comes out in the way that it's not even just like vocally delivered, but the way
yeah,
that some of the instruments are played, it's like it takes it up that next level of being like, this is pissed off. This is angry. This has got a real urgency to it, and it's kind of grabbing you and going, listen, fucking listen and do something, please.
yeah, yeah. So it's like that. Obviously, there's not really any such things like protest music anymore. Where I know it never really used to be a big thing, but obviously in the 70s and obviously probably from the like 60s to the 80s, it was kind of a thing where you get these like pop artists like writing a record and it would raise awareness of things. Now it kind of seems to be a bit homogenized, but you get these like hardcore or death metal or even black metal bands who are left wing and they're putting that in their music and they're like it's a kind of different type of protest song, I guess, or music where their message is so important and it but because of the way the world is, there's just so much apathy, unfortunately, and things get ignored because it just they don't
Yeah.
get as big as they should do. Where a couple of years ago, probably a record like this would be huge because it'd be
Oh
talked about.
yeah. I do think we're getting the glimmers though, like
Mm,
band that's all say like obviously Terminal Nation are a bit less established, and it'd be
yeah,
really cool if this like you say a couple of years ago this record had done that. But a band like Fit for an Autopsy,
sure.
who put Red Horizon on their new record, and that's very explicit about like, very explicitly about the horrors and the genocide going on
Yeah,
in Gaza and in Palestine, and it's like that level of confidence to just put that on your album and say, this is us, we stand for this. And it's like, it's incredible that, unfortunately, again, like you say, it did kind of flow a little, like fly a little under the radar, but it also feels like they're a band with the stature that they could have gone, we don't want to upset too many people.
yeah,
Because, yes, they're in a niche genre, but they're a big band in that niche genre. And to have that, the conviction to just stamp it on and go, no, 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 listen, like if you look at those lyrics, they are pretty fucked.
yeah. They're one of those bands as well, and I know obviously they've got really talented people in them, and Will Putney's incredible.
Yeah,
Everything he does kind of is pretty magic, but them having the kind of platform that they do and still doing that stuff, it's really great. Like I think if you're in a big band, that's kind of what you should be doing. Like 'cause
yeah,
you've got that reach and ability to actually talk to people about proper things. It's not like you're kind of pretending and just like going with the flow and making some like facile kind of comments occasionally or writing stuff on like online. They go out and do it at shows and stuff, which is great.
yeah. And it's like a band again, obviously smaller but bigger in this like scene. Dawn Raid,
Sure.
when
Yeah.
they would literally at shows be like, yeah, we're not dropping out of this because you booked, like a fascist,
Oh
fascist
yeah.
sympathizing band. We're going to stand here and we're going to hand out leaflets at the merch desk. We're going to talk to people.
Yeah, they had some
Like,
problems, didn't they? In like America, I think, and Europe playing some fests like that, which is it's not their fault.
no,
You get
absolutely. And the fact that they turned up and were like, no, we're going to take up space.
yeah, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Like really important.
So yeah, the bands like that, and then of course bands like Underdark as well, who
Yeah.
obviously very much did that with Managed Decline.
Yeah, that's another record kind of like you touched on earlier where it's a story. It's not just about obviously it's a real life story as well in a sense. Like those things happen to people all the time and kind of the dates and the kind of things that were going on that influenced that album. It's really like touching that and great that Underdark would write about that kind of material
Yeah,
rather than
absolutely.
just kind of like sticking something just generic out, really.
Yeah, and it's great that we're having bands do that, which is why Terminal Nation, I completely agree. It's hands down such an important record that I
Yeah,
think people should be checking out. If not, even if you listen to it and you're like, I'm not kind of fussed on it musically, but I don't know why you wouldn't be. But it's also got this really important message that people, can resonate with. And then, of course, it just like as an album musically, even if you don't bother reading the lyrics, it just kicks ass
yeah.
all
There's
over the
like
place.
there's for me there's not a bad track on it because I really like it, but there's like runs of tracks. Like I think it's like 2 to 5 on the album are just incredible, where you think they've reached like the zenith of where they're gonna go, and then it just goes somewhere else, and it just like builds up and builds up and builds up, and it's really cool when you get albums like that where there's runs of tracks. There's no like what was the word? Kind of like dead meat on there, or it's just
Yeah,
it's all killer. It's incredible.
yeah,
Like yeah, it's an album that I heard like I think they put something out in like 2019, 2020 maybe. And I remember listening to that and then kind of I think it was midway through the year. I think that one came out in May this year. That popped up on my Spotify and I was just like, oh, I've got to listen to this. And then it took a little bit of time to get around to it, but when it did, I was like, oh my God, Where's this been?
yeah,
Because it's so good.
yeah. So that's a great pick, Terminal Nation, Echoes of the Devil's Den. Um, so last but not least, then we'll talk a little bit about 2025 for Grief Ritual and other plans. Obviously, as we mentioned before, you've got your debut album Collapse coming out on the 31st of January, if I'm not
That's right.
mistaken, through Church Road. There's three singles out now. You've got one with Harry from Burner, which is an absolute barn burner, excuse,
Yeah.
of a track. I mean, they're all really good, but obviously you've got the record coming out. That's got to be exciting as well.
Yeah, really looking forward to getting that out. We've been sat on it since the start of the year. Kind of, we wrote the majority of it the back end of the year before, having kind of had a bit of time to think and kind of jot some ideas down. We got together and just kind of put that together with our friend Jake, who's been in the band before, kind of part time as a bassist. He runs just Noise Audio in kind of Birmingham. I'd recommend him as a producer and like someone to record with. He's just incredible and he's got so many good ideas. So writing with him and like recording with him was great because it's really helped bring what we wanted to do to the fore, where we've kind of had all these ideas and just not been able to get them down properly. But with him, it's been really great. So Collapse, yeah, that comes out in January, and I'm really looking forward to that because we've got some release shows following that. We've got two that have been announced so far in Bristol and Camden, at the Black Heart, which would be great. We're playing Rough Trade in Bristol too. Both
Nice.
venues that I really like. The Black Heart especially is just it's such a great venue in London. And there's such lovely people who run it.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. The lineup so far is like Harrowed, who are a great British band, like kind of what they do is incredible. And we've got Worn Out coming over from Ireland as well. Who we went
Nice.
to
Yeah.
Ireland earlier, like kind of a month or two ago, where we got to play Siege for Limerick, actually. I forgot to say that, which was great. A really cool festival there. One of the best crowds we've ever had, which was great. So we're bringing them over for a couple of shows,
Nice.
which were really cool because Worn Out, I think they're a bit underrated in what they do, but they've got kind of a bit of straight for the path about them, a bit of kind of
Yeah.
old kind of post-hardcore. So they should go down well. And they're lovely people as well. Like Evan, the drummer, is incredible, like really nice guy.
Put something else out. They put something out this year, didn't they?
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
got an EP, I think, that came out around
Yeah.
the
I remember.
time of Eivør. I think it was called Low. That's
Yes.
really good record.
Yeah. I
So
remember
yeah,
really
I'd
enjoying that.
recommend that.
I was gonna say, I'm sure I was trying to figure if they released it this year or last, and I'm like, time was just, yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's a great piece. So yeah, looking forward to that one
yeah. There's like this year for I know it's kind of the same probably every year, but there's been so many good albums and so many cool EPs that
for
it's
sure.
kind of like when I sat down to think about things the other day, I was just like, how do you really choose? Like I put a list together and I had about 30, 40 things, which is just obviously it's far too many to talk about. But
Yeah, there's a reason I kind of go with favorite and not best.
yeah,
It's because like it's something that's really stuck with you over the year, whether
yeah,
it's come out in October or like January. If it's stuck with you and you're like, no, 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 this is my favorite thing I've heard this year.
yeah,
It's a lot easier, I find, mentally than having to go, shit, I have to rank
yeah.
20 albums.
Yeah, I hate kind of having to do top tens and stuff like that because my brain just can't take it. I'm like, oh, it could be this one, or it could be like
Yeah,
that one. And like this year, especially, you've kind of had albums by like Full of Hell, which everything they put
multiple
out,
albums by Full of Hell.
yeah, like Blood Incantation's album as well is really cool.
Yeah,
Um, I think then like Agriculture, who are like a black metal band on the Flenser, they put out an EP, which is just it's like sublime black metal. It's one of the best black metal albums I've listened to in a while, but really cool.
yeah. Yeah, it's been a great year, and obviously, again with the 2025, like obviously you've got those shows coming up, you've got the album coming up. Is there anything else that you can talk about at the moment? Or
We're playing 2000 Trees in the summer, which will be
yes, you are.
that's like favorite festival for us, that and Art Tangent, run by the same people. So we're really glad to be going back there. And yeah, we're not allowed to say what day we're playing or what stage we're on yet, but it'll be really cool.
That's
It's
all right.
a nice progression for us because we played there before and we had a great time. But for us, it's like everything we do, we're just really grateful for. So to get a chance to go back again and play, it's going to be really cool because we've grown as a band, and the new songs when the album's here, we'll have like a bit of a different set, which should be good because it should be a lot more. Well, for me, it's heavier. It's a lot more chaotic. Um, which I think is something we needed. So it's really going to be really good to get those out, and hopefully people will enjoy them as much as we will.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a great little festival, Trees. I've only been to Trees once,
But
but it is really good. I go to Arctangent fairly often, I would say, and
yeah,
like again, like you say, it's the slightly smaller cousin of Trees, isn't it? Really, it's the slightly smaller, weirder cousin.
yeah, I'd say it's a slightly maybe older crowd because of some of the music that's on there.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm all for that because I'm one of them, so I'm with it. And I
same.
love trees as well because it's kind of a more kind of I guess what's the word like the Lark Tangent's more obtuse, I guess, in the music, isn't it? It's sometimes more experimental, where Trees is a bit more kind of not commercial, but there's more bands on there that you're likely to enjoy
Yeah,
if
it's
you just got this
slightly less
random
out
play.
there.
Yeah. Like I remember when we went to Arctangent last, it was when Swans played.
Yeah,
And I like some Swans stuff. Our bassist does as well, but our drummer had never listened to them before. So he was a bit taken back by kind of Michael Gira just like conducting people, which I don't think he just didn't get it. He couldn't get his head around it. But I love that kind of stuff, kind of like tangent, because you get to see bands that you're never going to see again, potentially sometimes.
yeah,
Um,
they really take upon on stuff, don't they? They go, this is nowhere else is going to book this. It's
yeah,
just a bit too weird. It's like it's either us or Portals.
yeah. That's another good festival though, really cool.
Oh, Portals is great. Yeah,
Yeah. I've never unfortunately been, but I would like to go.
yeah. When
So
did I
it's one for the list.
go? I feel like I either went last year or the year before, and I can't remember which one, but it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like there are all these little festivals, well not little, because streets obviously I think like 15, 20,000 now, but like festivals that have grown through grassroots to kind of be kind of mainstays at their level and kind of everything that's going on,
Yeah, it's
which is
still like
really
an
cool.
independent festival as well, which is
Yeah, so important.
super important and really great. Because then, like, they'll book bands like yourselves. They won't be
Yeah,
necessarily looking around going, what's shifting the most tickets? Sure, that's always going to be a concern. You're going to want to do that, but you're also going to want to be like, we also want to champion bands that are coming through, bands that are doing something interesting, bands that got like a bit of buzz in the underground about them.
yeah,
Let's put them on a stage that will get more people in front of them than like than a typical headliner, for instance. And it's a great thing that they do for the scene. So yeah, it's great that you're getting to play that again.
yeah. I remember Freeze a couple of years ago. I've been kind of on and off most years for about 10 years now. And the new stage there is great because there's all these like you say kind of more underground bands. And I remember seeing I think it was Mole played that one year who were just they're incredible as well. Like
I love Mo.
yeah, I think it was just maybe just after the first record had come out.
Mm.
So they had a bit of hype, but and that's the tent was quite full for them. But I think there were a lot of people there who'd never heard of them, just gone into that tent because they know that tent's good for music
Yeah,
and were blown away by them because yeah, the
I think
vocalist is incredible. Like the stuff he does, like you just don't see anything like that. Like there's some videos of them. I think they played some Danish music awards thing.
yeah,
Uh, Everybody in the crowd is like, there's people obviously like it, but you can see there's like pop stars and people probably from different areas of the arts, and then they come on stage and it's just like these dissonant black metal chords and him like shrieking, which is just it's so
yeah.
cool to see.
I think I saw them. It was Arctangent, um, and it was off the back of the first record. And I remember, I think I just went in because somebody went, "Oh, Merle look good," and I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna go listen." They're like, "What are they like?" And they went, "Ah, Death Heaven. If you like Death Heaven, you'll like this." And
Yeah,
like, I do like Death Heaven. They're still a very different band, but I went in and I was again blown away by them. So when Diorama came out, I think that was very high on my like album of the year list that year,
yeah,
and superb band to see live.
yeah. I would love to see them again. I've seen them twice, so I want to see them again though.
I think the same actually, and I know Kim, their singer, he was actually Arctangent this year because
Oh really?
he was doing some stuff with John Connor.
Ah, cool.
But yeah, I think that's everything we had actually. So yeah,
Great.
Grief Ritual Collapse, 31st of Jan on Church Road.
Yep.
It's got the Church Road seal of approval. You already know it's good.
I hope so. it's just I'm really grateful that we're on that record. Like Sammy and Justine are just such lovely people.
Yeah,
Um, and for them to put out our record is it's been like a dream, really. So
yeah.
yeah, it's great, and I'm looking forward to kind of what comes next when the record's out.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like from myself as well, it's been a pleasure to chat. And the record, like from my side of things, having been, having had a listen, I think people are going to really fucking enjoy it.
I'm glad you like it.
And I hope they come to see you live because that's even better.
Yeah, it should be good live.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of stuff to kind of figure out, but we'll get it, and that would be
Oh, for
great.
sure.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Okay. Well, thanks again so much for your time this evening.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to come and have a chat.